after those attempted assassination attempts on the former president's life, his opponents reached out to him and said they do not accept political violence. That has been a key difference. I do want to play you.
Last week, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris said that everyone who showed up to President Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden was a Nazi. The media is for pushing hoaxes like the one that you all pushed today, and the Democrat Party is for pushing lies about him. You want to talk about violence against political opponents?
The fake news screwed up so bad on this one, CNN's Jonah Goldberg had to actually apologize for his outrageous remarks this morning about former President Donald Trump. I'll show you that in a second, along with Trump press secretary Caroline Leavitt absolutely cooking ABC for pushing this latest hoax. But first, Trump joined Tucker Carlson live in Glendale, Arizona last night, and the fake news turned one of his comments into a new hoax. The Democrat-aligned media all echoed the Kamala Harris campaign's rhetoric calling Trump a third world dictator by accusing Trump of calling for the execution of Liz Cheney.
I don't think you even need to call it fire department. He's saying quite explicitly and unambiguously that Liz Cheney should be shot, should be executed by firing squad. That is appalling. It is a small facet of the reasons why he's unfit for office, and the Republican Party has made a disastrous mistake renominating him. All that said, since we're here for the punditry, I don't know what this gets him, right? If his problem is freaking out suburban women who don't like the chaos, don't like the violent rhetoric and all that kind of stuff, that's just not a great closing argument. Let's execute a political opponent who happens to be a woman because I don't like her. And like, does that pull more low propensity voters in his coalition to the polls? I honestly don't think so.
Trump was actually mocking Liz Cheney for being a war hawk neocon who blithely sends people to die in unnecessary wars. This is Trump's actual statement.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter's a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person. And
she's a war hawk. She kills people. She wanted even in my administration, she was pushing that we go to war with everybody. And I said, if you ever gave her a rifle and let her do the fighting, if you ever do that, she wouldn't be doing too well, I will tell you right now. If she had to face the consequences of battle, she wouldn't be doing it. So it's easy for her to talk, but she wouldn't be doing it.
So Trump was clearly criticizing Liz Cheney's foreign policy. Liz Cheney, who is a foreign policy advisor to Kamala Harris. The Biden and Harris administration has started new wars, allowed new wars to start. Trump has constantly criticized them for wasting blood and treasure. He's criticized them for loss of life, not just at home, but abroad. By the way, this may be why the Muslim mayor of the only Muslim majority city in America, Hamtramck, Michigan, defended President Trump's critique of Cheney's failed neocon foreign policy by calling Cheney bloodthirsty.
Top military advisor of Kamala Harris is Liz Cheney, the bloodthirsty person who advocates for more wars in the Middle East. And they would want to send our sons, and you know, we have so many people in the military from our community, from the Arab American community. They would want to send them to fight their own people in the Middle East. President Trump keeps attacking the pro-war radicals, those war hawks, who are the top military advisor of Kamala Harris. And they want to create more wars in the Middle East. President Trump appreciated and respected our community like it never happened before. We have a line of communication with the White House if President Trump wins, and this has never happened before. So please, my message to the Arab American people, vote for Trump.
Trump is such a uniting figure. He's brought Jews and Muslims together in calling for peace in the Middle East. Voters would rather the Abraham Accords over the current strife. Everyone with common sense knows that Trump is critical of neocon war hawks who send other people's children to die in needless foreign wars at the expense of American taxpayers. They are somehow trying to turn this into Trump being a murderous sexist. It has nothing to do with Liz Cheney being a woman. Trump has not called for violence against anyone. In fact, it's the very opposite. Trump wants to stop the violence. So Kamala Harris's media allies pushed this hoax all morning, and then Kamala Harris herself pushed it in the afternoon.
And then, even worse, he has increased his violent rhetoric, Donald Trump has, about political opponents, and in great detail, suggested rifles should be trained on former Representative Liz Cheney. I know Liz Cheney well enough to know that she is tough, she is incredibly courageous, and has shown herself to be a true patriot at a very difficult time in our country.
So CNN's Jonah Goldberg spewed the most despicable lies about Trump and ended up having to retract his statement a few hours later. Goldberg said this afternoon, "This morning on CNN, I referred to Trump's rifles quote as him advocating a firing squad for Liz Cheney. I was wrong to say he was calling for a firing squad execution. After I said that, my co-panelist Brad Todd made the case that I was wrong. I let my disgust at Trump's comments get the better of me, as this was the first time I'd heard them." Fake journalist Aaron Rupar is also under fire for deceiving voters through his deceptively clipped video, which has so far gotten almost 20 million impressions on X. There's something happening at CNN and Washington Post where they're Democrat-aligned state media clearly, but trying very hard to pretend they're not by sparingly obliging pre-2016 journalistic standards. So fake news ABC also piled on in this hoax. The host incredibly tried to blame Trump, the victim of 2 assassination attempts, as the actual perpetrator of violence. Thankfully, Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, did not let her get away with it.
We want to talk about violence against political opponents. Let's talk about the fact that Democrats have been labeling President Trump a threat to democracy for the better half of 10 years. Let's talk about how they have compared him to Hitler, one of the worst mass murderers in the history of the world, and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weaponized the court system and the justice system in this country against Donald Trump in an attempt to imprison him. He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political violence that has led to 2 heinous assassination attempts on President Trump's life that, by the grace of God, he was able to escape, and he is here with us today. So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political violence because he's experienced it himself. And talking about the tragic realities of war that Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney, have got this country into is not political violence. It's talking about the reality of the foreign conflicts that the Washington, D.C. establishment have sold out young Americans to for decades.
Yet, of course, after those attempted assassination attempts on the former president's life, his opponents reached out to him and said they do not accept political violence. That has been a key difference. I do want to play you.
No, please. His opponents are saying to this very day the same rhetoric that led to those 2 assassination attempts. The second attempted assassin on President Trump's life echoed the sentiment that President Trump is a threat to democracy. And if you're a deranged lunatic and you're mentally ill, you will believe that lie. And yes, you will take political violence like we have seen in 2 instances against President Trump. Last week, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris said that everyone who showed up to President Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden was a Nazi. That's despicable, dangerous, divisive rhetoric that is spewed by the Democrat Party every single day. And I am so sick and tired of the media pointing the finger at Donald Trump and saying that he is sowing division in this country. He is not. The media is for pushing hoaxes like the one that you all pushed today, and the Democrat Party is for pushing lies about him. But the good news is Americans don't buy it. And that's why today in 2024, President Trump is more popular than he has been since 2016 because people don't trust the media and they're not buying the Harris campaign's closing argument that he's some great threat to our democracy because they lived under him for 4 years as president and our democracy and our country was stronger than it is today.
Honestly, we're witnessing insane levels of projection from the Democrat side. It's gotten so bad that the Democrats now want you to believe that there's a stigma against voting for them. Those of us who voted for Trump since 2016 and live in blue cities and blue states know that you could lose your job, your friends, your family, everything if they found out that you supported Trump in the last near decade. And now they're trying to steal that. They're saying that women need to hide their votes for Harris because it's too stigmatized. I'm sorry, are there political prisoners who support Democrats and say the 2016 election was stolen? By the way, they still say the 2016 election was stolen. I don't see anyone going to jail over that. I don't see any censorship on big tech over that. But anyway, we shouldn't be surprised by this latest hoax. We're in the final stretch. It's only a couple days until the election on Tuesday. Make sure you go out and vote and make your voice heard. I'll catch you on the next one.